Hi there and welcome everybody to this session. We're so glad to have you joining us here today for this bonus virtual session called Big Insights for Small Businesses. This is designed specifically to help SMB brands like yours level up your digital analytics. So we're going to be sharing never before seen benchmark data, practical insights, and just tips to help you deliver better customer experiences online. Whether you're looking to reduce bounce, improve engagement, or just understand what's really happening on your site, this session is jam-packed with guidance to help you take action. Now, before we jump into the data, let's quickly introduce ourselves. My name is Emma Ross, and I'm part of the product marketing team here at Contentsquare, and I'm joined by my colleague, Cristala Pieri, also a product marketer at Contentsquare, who will be leading the product demo later on. Now, very quickly, here's a look at what we're going to cover in today's session. Firstly, I'm going to walk you through some fresh benchmark data that we've gathered from SMB websites across industries, so you can see how your digital performance stacks up and where you might want to focus next. Then Cristala will take you through a live walkthrough of the Contentsquare free plan to show you how to uncover how users are experiencing your website. And along the way, we're going to share actionable tips, examples, and ways you can start improving your digital experience. So whether you're just getting started with analytics or you're already testing and optimizing your site, this is the session for you. So every year here at Contentsquare, we release annual benchmarks to help brands understand how they stack up in the industry on key metrics like bounce, traffic, and conversion. So we do this by aggregating all of the user data that we analyze over the most recent quarter. So in this case, Q1 2025, which is January to March, and then when we look at year-on-year comparison, we are going to be comparing to that to Q1 in 2024. So for the first time, and now that we're offering our free plan to SMB brands, we have SMB benchmarks to share, and you are the first to see them. Now, here is a snapshot of the data that we analyzed to deliver the benchmarks. It's a really chunky data set consisting of 12,000 SMB websites, which means we have data from 400 million sessions and 1.6 billion page views across 9 industries. So what we've done is taken the averages across all of this data to present you with the benchmarks. And what's really interesting with SMB data is that it really, really varies between industries. So we've broken it down by industry so you can see what it all means. Traffic. Let's talk about traffic. So although across all industries, we saw traffic remained quite flat, when we looked at the breakdown between different industries, we're actually seeing very different stories. So the number one thing we looked at for SMB was traffic, and based on traffic from Q1 2024 to 2025, it varied massively. So you can see in this graph that the average only went up very slightly. It's basically flat, but when we look at traffic per industry, it varies so much. So for example, energy, financial services, and telco saw an increase in traffic, which is pretty positive because in mid-market and enterprise, it went down for nearly everyone. So this is really interesting to see. We can also see that travel and hospitality experienced quite a big traffic dip in this quarter. But what we need to remember here is traffic sources are changing a lot at the moment. And it's important to keep in mind that acquiring traffic is getting harder and harder. Paid channels are more expensive, AI is driving zero-click searches, and SEO is saturated with competition. So the traffic that you're getting is becoming a lot more valuable. So it's really important to understand where your traffic is coming from, why you might be seeing traffic going up or down, and then you need to figure out how you can adapt for the new way people are searching for you. Now, looking at breakdown by device is interesting for SMB because normally we have been seeing that mobile is king, mobile is taking over, but actually this year, desktop saw a bigger spike than mobile did on traffic, which is quite interesting. So I think it would be great for you to look at your own device metrics to see how they stack up here. Like if your stats are similar to benchmarks, maybe you need to start prioritizing desktop experiences again, especially if you went all in on mobile. Now turning to consumption, this is a good news story actually. So we measure consumption by looking at page views and time spent on site. Consumption is really high on SMB sites compared to mid-market and enterprise. And overall, we saw that people are viewing more pages and spending more time overall on your site. So here you've got the average number of page views per session. You can see where people's journeys end, on average actually end. And what's interesting, but I guess actually pretty obvious, is that returning visitors view 2 to 3 pages more than new visitors on desktop, and at least another page more on mobile. So this makes sense. It could be because they're more familiar with your website, they know where to navigate, or because they're back with stronger intent and therefore view more pages. But it's an interesting trend to keep an eye on nonetheless. So really, it would be key here to understand the journeys of both new and returning visitors, as they'd be quite different, and making sure your website is catered to those different types of visitors. Now, what's great to see is that page views have trended upwards from 2024 to 2025, meaning customers are finding it easier to navigate through your website and are more engaged. But we did see the slightest decrease year on year for returning visitors. But as we saw in the previous slide, the averages for returning visitors remain healthy despite this dip. So average time spent per session is a very interesting one for SMB. So these numbers are actually huge for SMB, and we even double and triple checked this data. So overall on desktop, we're seeing an average of 11 minutes with a much lower 4 minutes on mobile. And what's really cool to call out here is that these times are much longer than for mid-market and enterprise, where on average, time spent on desktop and mobile were 5 minutes and 2 minutes, 20 seconds respectively. So SMB are doing something really well here. Maybe it's their use of digital experience insights and visitor feedback to create those engaging experiences on their site. But we do know the more time people spend on your site, the more content they engage with, and then the more likely they are to convert. So something here is working really well. It's also worth noting that once again, we see the consumption gap between new and returning visitors, as well as the divide between desktop and mobile. So returning visitors are spending a lot more time on your site. So it's key really to understand their experience and needs so that you can optimize their journey. And the same goes for new visitors. Just think, how can you enhance the new visitor journey to increase engagement on your site? Now, average time spent per session year on year. So this one is interesting. They're viewing more pages and already spending an awful lot of time on site, but this is actually decreasing year on year. So when we looked at page views, things are trending upwards year on year. When we look at time spent on site, things are trending downwards, and especially on mobile. Now we do see a slight increase for new visitors there on desktop. So what we're seeing here is people are looking at more pages, but spending less time on those pages. But there could be a lot of reasons for this, right? And this doesn't always need to be looked at as a negative. Maybe their experiences are getting more seamless and easy to navigate, or maybe customers are finding what they need quicker since they're still viewing more pages. But they're still having more engaged sessions. It's just a bit quicker. So despite the downward trend, overall time on site, as we saw in the previous slide, is very healthy actually for SMB. So now it is time to talk about bounce rates. And to be quite frank here, bounce is a killer. And across all industries, we are saying goodbye to really, really valuable visitors. So looking at the stats here, the average bounce is basically every other person that comes to your site. So almost every second person leaves your site. And with so much effort going into acquiring traffic and some industries losing traffic year on year, it's so important to keep visitors on site when they do arrive. So looking per industry, there are variations where some are doing better than others. We can see in travel and hospitality, it's actually a third, but in media, it's only 2 and 3 people. So traffic, as we know, is becoming more difficult to acquire. So you really need to start reducing bounce and caring about the experience on site. So making sure as soon as they land, you're giving them what they need. So you need to understand what content to serve them at that point. And depending on where traffic is coming from, and especially for those industries where traffic is decreasing, if your bounce is at the same level, then your conversion is going to drop. So that's a super important one for you to prioritize. So here we looked at what bounce rates have gone up or down for the last year, which is also quite a mixed bag. Actually, overall, Our customers are reducing bounce, which is really good news. But again, interestingly, energy, utilities and construction, media, retail and telco bounce rates are going up. So remember which way your traffic is going and which way your bounce is going. And you have got a really clear story of what you need to do. So if traffic is going down and bounce is going up, you really need to understand the user's experience. You need to optimize per visitor type. So if that's new and returning, just to get the most out of the traffic you do have and reduce your bounce rate. So in a nutshell, really what we're seeing here is we're seeing a slowdown in overall traffic growth across many industries. And at the same time, it's really getting harder than ever before to capture and keep people's attention. And this means that the experience and the quality of the experience on your website, so how smooth or fast or relevant your site is, matters more than ever before. And it's not just about how many visitors you get, but how well you actually serve them. We're seeing that desktop is making a comeback and that consumption is up. So more page views per session and returning visitors are spending more time on site than new ones. And remember that returning visitors equal high intent visitors. So these are your best conversion opportunities. If their journey is clunky, you are leaving revenue on the table. And we see that bounce rates remain high, and with flat or declining traffic, each bounce is a missed opportunity here. So not just for conversion, but also for engagement. So these are the benchmarks. Use them to help you gauge where you stand and, more importantly, where you can focus your efforts next. So just some suggestions on what you can do next and how the Contentsquare free plan might actually help. So step one, map the visitor journey. So all you need to do here is really compare how new and returning users navigate your site to help you uncover those friction points, those areas along the journey where visitors drop off, or just those missed opportunities along the way. So with Contentsquare, what you're able to do is visualize and compare journeys. You can see exactly where experiences break down. You just get the full picture, so understand both what users are doing and why they're doing it. So on the Contentsquare free plan, you're able to get the behavioral data and couple it with the real visitor feedback. So you're able to turn those insights that you get into a next steps action plan. And finally, I would say test and optimize and repeat. So use what you learn to make informed changes across your site that help to drive engagement and retention and conversion, and then measure those results and repeat. So with Contentsquare free plan, you can validate the improvements that you have already made to your site. So now I am going to hand you over to my colleague Christella, who will walk you through the Contentsquare free plan and show you how to bring these insights to life.
Thank you so much, Emma. Hi, everyone. So now that we've seen what's happening across the SMB landscape, thanks, Emma, for that, let's bring it closer to home. So what we'll do today, I'll walk you through how Contentsquare helps you uncover what's happening on your site, but most importantly, why it's happening using a free plan. So once you've installed our tag, which is a quick and one-time setup that you need to do, your data will start flowing in and you'll be ready to explore insights right away. Just a quick heads up before we start with the demo is that this is a demo site that I'm going to show you now. So the data you see may not match exactly what Emma just showed in her benchmarks, but the goal today is to highlight how you can use our platform and get the most of our free plan. Okay, so let's jump into the platform. Cool. So the first thing we see here is a dashboard. Here you can get an overview of what's happening on your site. So you can quickly spot what's working, what's not, and dig a little bit deeper when you feel that you need to. At the top here, we see high-level metrics for the last 30 days. And of course, you can adjust the date range here to what you want it to be. So we can see things like total sessions, average session duration, average page sessions, and bounce rate. What else we can see here is the most visited pages that we have. So we can see naturally our homepage. Then we have next a very high intent product page, followed by a cart and the checkout page. But what's really interesting here is that we can switch easily to the top exit intent pages. So what we see here is that at the very top, we have our checkout and our cart page. But if we're an e-commerce website, this is a really big red flag that we would most likely want to investigate. Why is this high drop happening here? Another thing we can do from our dashboard is to look at specific page metrics. Let's take, for an example, the homepage. So here we can see our sessions, the number of clicks that we get, sessions with rage. This means the sessions that, how many sessions we have that people are very frustrated with the sites or they can't do something. We have the average time on page, average scroll depth, and our drop-off rates. Beyond page level data, we can also look at audience breakdowns like new versus returning, device type, and location. These kind of data help you understand, are first-time visitors struggling? Is mobile underperforming compared to desktop, just to match like the benchmarks that Emma just shared, something that's good for us to keep an eye on now? And are there any regional patterns that you might need to be aware of? Another thing that our customers really like about our dashboard is how customizable it is. So you can quickly create a new dashboard by start adding from the widget here. And we have a bunch of few templates like the top pages, page overview, NPS surveys that you can just quickly get started and build your own dashboard based on your goals and needs. Okay, but I think that I really need to mention that the full power of our dashboard is that it's not just a simple static report. It's really more like a launch pad into deeper insights. So if you really spot something unusual, a spike, or you can see like a big drop off, you can instantly, just with one click, dig into the related recordings of that issue that you might have found, or straight to a heat map. So right, just with one click. So let's take, as an example, this product category page that we have here. And we can quickly, just with one click, go to the related heat map of that specific page. Okay, so heat maps. Heat maps are one of the most visual and practical tools that you can find at Contentsquare. They help you understand how visitors interact with your pages, where they click, how they scroll, and where they focus their attention. So we have three main heat maps types that we can look at today. What we see now is a click map. So click maps show you where users are clicking on the page, if it's a button, links, images, or even places where people are not supposed to click. So this helps us spot missed opportunities or any UX confusion that our visitors might be having. This specific click map now of our product category page, you can see that there's a high volume of clicks on our add to cart button, but that's a good thing, right? It shows intent. But we can also see that there's scattered clicks on things that you're not supposed to click on. So maybe that's something that we could further look into. Next, let's move to a scroll map. So scroll maps are maps that actually show you how far users move, how far users scroll on your page. So this tells you where the key content is being missed. Super useful for long pages or product list pages like this. The scroll map shows a steep drop off after the second row of products here, meaning most users never see what's further down the page. And lastly, we have move maps. So move maps show you where your visitors actually move on the website without them clicking, which this is a very good indicator of where their attention is going. So it helps you understand which areas are draw more interest, and even if they're not being clicked on. And this specific move map here basically just backs up that there's higher engagement at the top of the page as opposed to the bottom, and that there's a high click rate on the add to cart buttons on the page. Okay, so what do we do next? Since we saw, oh, sorry, one more thing that I wanted to show you today is the stats that we see here. So we can see that we have this particular page has a quite high drop-off rate, and we also see a high number of rage clicks, which is also a red flag of something is wrong on this page. And in addition, we also see a lot of clicks happening here on the feedback button, which is also another alert that something's off here. So what do we do next? We see high rage clicks, unexpected activity on the feedback button, and a lot of clicks on the add to cart. What we want to do is zoom a little bit deeper into the add to cart experience to understand what's really going on. And the cool thing here, just like on our dashboard, is that from this heat map, we can jump straight into session replays for users who interacted with a specific, but with these specific elements that we see here. So let's do that. Let's just jump straight into the session replays and take a look what's going on. We can see, let me go to the click map. Okay, let's check here with the highest clicks on this add to cart button. Okay, so session replay. What we see here is a list of session replays of the people that interacted with that specific button or elements on the heat map that we were just on. Session replays, we can watch, what they really are is basically we can watch real user journeys and see exactly how they navigate the site, where they hit roadblocks and what's causing frustration. So let's just take a quick look at a heat map here, a session replay here. So we can see that they're on the home page. You can see that the image is not loading there, which is something that we might need to go and look into. They go straight to the running category. They know what they want. And here we see that they will be trying to add to cart. We see that there's a slow load, and that is actually not taking them where they're supposed to go. The page is not changing. And we also see that they are clicking on the feedback button to let us know that they're not satisfied. So this is the kind of moment where we absolutely want to investigate and prioritize what's happening here, what's going on. So what's the key takeaway? We've identified that this specific product category page has potentially major issues impacting conversions. And with session replay, we're not just guessing or relying on our assumption, oh, there's something wrong going here. We're seeing the exact friction points right in action and as they're happening. So the next step would really be to dig a little bit deeper and understand why are these things happening. And that's where surveys and interviews come in. So surveys let you hear directly from your visitors in their very own words. They help you understand why are users leaving a page, what's frustrating them or confusing them, and how satisfied they are with satisfied or unsatisfied with their experience. And it's all about moving from observing how users behave on the website to directly asking them how they feel. So setting up surveys in Contentsquare is actually very easy. You can scroll through our templates, our template library, where we have a ton of ready-to-launch options like the feedback button, net promoter score, exit intent survey, and so many more. But for today, we would focus on the feedback button. This allows visitors to share input at any point on the journey. So do you remember in the session replay that we just watched on the product category page? We saw a user that was struggling to add shoes into their cart, and they left a negative rating through the feedback button. So let's go ahead and check the feedback came through in that specific survey. So here we can see an overview of the survey that we have. We can see there are 3 main questions. We can see that we have a score 1 out of 5, which is quite high. And we can see the latest response that we got. I need to buy running shoes, but the add to cart button is not working. We can also see that some of the visitors even left the email, so we can follow up further if we needed to ask more questions about it. Okay, so if we move to the results tab, we can actually go through some of the responses. So we can see a clear pattern here. I need to buy running shoes, but the add to cart button is not working. The add to cart button is broken on the running page, and so forth. So it's crystal clear that visitors are running into a major blocker on the product category page that is impacting conversion at scale. What's really powerful here is that most of the visitors actually left their email, so we can reach out to them and further understand what was happening on that page and about their experience. So with just one click, you can invite them to an interview where you can send a pre-filled invitation email, offer optional compensation for the time, and you can also put your own availability connected to your calendar and your availability when you can schedule the call. It's super easy to set up and get started. Okay, so surveys and interviews, they really show you exactly how your users are struggling in their very own words. So combine it with behavioral data from what we saw from the dashboards, from heat maps and recorders. This kind of feedback makes your optimization work smarter, faster, and more customer-centered, which is one of the most important things. Okay, so to wrap up, in just a few steps, you've spotted friction in heat maps, you watched it unfold with session replay, and you heard directly from your users through the feedback button. This is a complete feedback loop, and it's included in Contentsquare for free, all of it. So why don't we take a look before we end into a high level of what exactly is, not exactly, but a high level of what's included in our free plan. You get 20K sessions a month, unlimited heat maps, and access to surveys and session replays, including the ability to collect 100 responses and use the AI survey generator. It's not a free trial, it's all for free. There's no time limits, no credit card required, no pressure to upgrade at all. You can onboard your full team and start optimizing right away. When you're ready and when your team grows and when you get more comfortable with your digital analytics, then you can explore a growth plan, which unlocks advanced features like rage click tracking, expanded session limits, sentiment analysis, and open text AI summaries. But everything I showed today is ready to go for free. So if you're ready to get started, scan the QR code to start using Contentsquare's free plan today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.